The wind cut through the empty street like broken glass. Snow fell in thick sheets, blanketing everything in white silence. Most people had rushed home hours ago, retreating behind locked doors and warm walls. But not everyone had doors to lock or walls to shelter them. Amara pressed herself against the cold brick building, her thin jacket doing almost nothing against the brutal winter night. She was 9 years old, but she had learned to make herself small, invisible. In her arms, wrapped in every piece of clothing Amara could find, was her baby sister Destiny. 15 months old. Burning with fever. Barely making any sounds anymore, which scared Amara more than the crying had. "It's okay, Des," Amara whispered, rocking slightly. "Mama's coming back," she promised. She just went to get help. That was 3 days ago. 3 days since their mother walked out of their condemned apartment, saying she'd be back in an hour. 3 days since Amara realized no one was coming. 3 days of keeping Destiny alive on the streets, begging for food, searching for warm places to hide when night fell. Amara's fingers were numb. She couldn't feel her toes anymore. But she kept rocking, kept holding her sister close, kept breathing warmth onto Destiny's pale face. A car's headlights swept across the street. Amara tensed, pulling Destiny closer. Most cars just passed by. Some people stared. A few had thrown money which Amara had used to buy formula and diapers. But no one stopped. No one asked if they needed help. This car slowed down. Amara watched as a black sedan pulled to the curb 15 feet away. The engine idled for a moment, windshield wipers pushing away the snow. Then the door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, wearing an expensive coat that probably cost more than Amara's entire life. He looked at her through the falling snow, and something in his expression made her heart pound. "Please don't call the police," Amara said quickly. "Please, we'll move. We're not bothering anyone." The man took a step closer. He had dark hair going gray at the temples, tired eyes, lines on his face that suggested he didn't smile often. "Are you hurt?" Amara shook her head even though everything hurt. "We're fine. We're just waiting for our mama." The man glanced at the empty street, at the closed businesses, at the snow piling up everywhere. His gaze returned to the bundle in Amara's arms. "Is that your sister?" "Yes, sir." Amara's voice cracked. "Her name is Destiny. Can I see her?" Every instinct screamed at Amara to say no, to protect Destiny from this stranger. But when she looked down at her sister's flushed face, at the way her little chest struggled with each breath, she knew the truth. Destiny needed help. Real help. The kind Amara couldn't give her. Slowly, carefully, she pulled back the layers of clothing covering Destiny's face. The man's expression changed. His jaw tightened. He crouched down to Amara's level, and she could see genuine concern in his eyes. "How long has she been sick?" 2 days. Maybe 3. I don't know anymore." Tears froze on Amara's cheeks. "I tried to keep her warm. I tried to get help, but no one would listen. They said I was making it up, that I needed to go home. But we don't have a home anymore." The man pulled out his phone. "I'm calling an ambulance." "No." Amara grabbed his arm with her free hand. "Please, no ambulance. They'll take us away. They'll separate us. I promised I'd keep her safe. Your sister needs a doctor. Right now." "I know." Amara's voice dropped to barely a whisper. The next words felt like they were tearing out of her chest. "Please, save my sister first." The man stared at her. Something shifted in his face like a wall crumbling. He looked at this little girl who had nothing, who was freezing and starving, who still put her sister before herself, and Amara saw his eyes get wet. "I'm taking you both to the hospital," he said quietly. "Right now. No arguments. But what if they... I'll make sure you stay together. I promise." He stood up, already dialing. "My name is Ethan Bradford. What's yours?" "Amara. Amara Johnson." "Amara, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" "Trust?" The word felt foreign. Amara had trusted her mother to come back. She trusted that someone would help if things got bad enough. She trusted that the world wasn't as cruel as it seemed. But Destiny was dying. Amara could feel it in how light her sister felt, how her breathing sounded wrong, how her fever burned through all the layers between them. "Okay," Amara whispered. Ethan finished his call, then gently scooped up both girls in his arms. Amara was too tired to protest, too cold to do anything but hold on to Destiny as this stranger carried them toward his warm car. He settled them in the back seat, turned the heat up high, and grabbed a blanket from the trunk to wrap around them. "St. Mary's Hospital is 10 minutes away," he said, climbing into the driver's seat. "We'll get there faster than any ambulance." As the car pulled away from the curb, Amara watched the snowy street disappear behind them. The place where she'd spent 3 desperate days trying to survive. The place where she'd thought they might die. "Thank you," she whispered, but Ethan didn't hear her over the heater and the windshield wipers. She looked down at Destiny, whose eyes had closed. "We're going to be okay, Des." Someone finally stopped. If you care about stories that remind us to see the people who need help right in front of us, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Would you have stopped for Amara and Destiny? What would you have done? The hospital's emergency room was bright and loud. Nurses and doctors moved quickly when Ethan rushed in carrying the 2 girls. Amara barely registered what was happening. People kept asking questions. Someone tried to take Destiny from her arms, and she screamed until Ethan knelt beside her. "They're going to help her," he said gently. "But they need to examine her. You can stay close. I won't leave you. Promise?" "I promise." Amara let the nurse take Destiny, but she followed right behind, ignoring her own chattering teeth and frozen fingers. In the examination room, she stood pressed against the wall, watching everything they did. Taking Destiny's temperature. Listening to her heart. Putting in an 4-line that made Amara's stomach turn. "Severe dehydration and respiratory infection," a doctor said to Ethan, who had stayed despite not being family. "Another day or 2 without treatment." The doctor didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. "Will she be okay?" Amara's voice was tiny in the busy room. The doctor looked at her properly for the first time. At this little girl with haunted eyes, wearing clothes that hadn't been washed in weeks, standing there like she was ready to fight anyone who tried to hurt her sister. "We're going to do everything we can," the doctor said, her tone gentler. "She's going to need to stay here for a while. We need to get fluids in her, start antibiotics, monitor her breathing. Can I stay with her? Are you her sister?" "I'm all she has." Amara's chin lifted. "I take care of her. I always take care of her." The doctor glanced at Ethan, questions in her eyes. He stepped forward. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" Another nurse, younger than the first, approached Amara. "Hi, sweetheart. While the doctors talk to your friend, why don't we get you checked out too? When's the last time you ate?" Amara wanted to say she wasn't hungry, but her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. "Yesterday. Maybe. I don't remember. Come with me. We'll get you something warm to eat and I'll make sure you can see your sister the whole time. Deal?" Amara looked at Destiny, now lying on the hospital bed, already looking less gray with the oxygen mask on. She looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragement. Then she followed the nurse to a chair positioned where she could watch the doctor's work. The nurse brought her hot soup, crackers, and apple juice. Amara tried to eat slowly, but she was so hungry that the food disappeared in minutes. The warmth spread through her, making her realize just how cold she'd been. How tired. How scared. "Where are your parents?" the nurse asked gently. "My mama left. My daddy? I don't know who he is. Never met him." "Where did your mama go?" "She said she'd be back." Amara's hands tightened around the empty soup bowl. "She always comes back. She's just taking longer this time." The nurse didn't say anything, but her expression was sad. Ethan returned 20 minutes later. His face was serious. "Amara, can we talk?" She nodded, setting down the bowl. "The doctors need to notify Child Protective Services. It's the law when they treat children without parents present." He held up a hand when Amara opened her mouth to protest. "But I've already called my lawyer. We're going to make sure you and Destiny stay together. That's the most important thing." "What's going to happen to us?" "Tonight, Destiny stays here in the hospital. They're admitting her for at least a few days." Ethan sat down in the chair next to her. "And you're going to come home with me. I have a big house, plenty of room, and I'm going to make sure you're safe." "Why?" The question came out sharper than Amara intended. "Why would you do that? You don't know us." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw you on that street, putting your sister first even though you were suffering too. Because I heard you say, 'Save my sister first,' and realized I haven't done anything truly important in years. Because..." He paused. "Because helping you feels like the first right thing I've done in a long time." Amara studied his face, looking for the lie, the trick, the hidden trap. She'd learned not to trust adults easily. They made promises they didn't keep. They said nice things but did mean things. They left. But this man had warm eyes. Sad eyes. Honest eyes. "Okay," she said finally. "But I need to stay until Destiny falls asleep." "Of course." They sat together in that bright emergency room while nurses moved in and out, while machines beeped and monitors glowed, while doctors checked vitals and wrote notes. Destiny was moved to a pediatric ward room, tucked into a real bed with clean sheets and warm blankets. And 4 dripped medicine into her tiny arm. Her color was already better. Amara pulled a chair close to the bed and held her sister's hand. "I'm not leaving forever," she whispered. "I'm just going somewhere safe tonight. You get better, okay? You have to get better." Destiny's eyes fluttered open briefly. She made a small sound, almost like she understood. "I love you, Des. I'll be back tomorrow. I promise." When Destiny's breathing evened out into sleep, Amara finally stood up. Her legs felt strange, like they might give out. Ethan caught her elbow, steadying her. "Ready?" "No. But we can go anyway." The drive to Ethan's house took 15 minutes. Amara stared out the window at the snowy city streets, at the people hurrying along sidewalks, at the lit windows of apartments and houses. Normal people living normal lives. People who had probably never slept on a street corner or watched their baby sister get sicker and sicker with no way to help. Ethan's house was in a quiet neighborhood with big yards and tall trees. The house itself was huge, made of dark red brick with white shutters and a wraparound porch. Lights glowed in several windows. "You live here alone?" Amara asked as they pulled into the driveway. "Yes. It's too big for one person, really. My wife and I bought it years ago before." He stopped. "It's just me now." Inside, the house was warm and clean and smelled like wood polish and something else Amara couldn't identify. Not the moldy smell of their condemned apartment. Not the harsh chemical smell of the shelter they'd stayed at once. Just clean and safe. "The guest room is upstairs," Ethan said, leading her up a wide staircase with a polished wooden banister. "There's a bathroom attached. Clean towels, soap, everything you need." He opened a door to reveal a bedroom bigger than the entire apartment Amara used to share with her mother and sister. A large bed with a blue comforter. A dresser. A desk by the window. A bookshelf filled with books. "This is all for me?" Amara couldn't quite believe it. "All for you. Are you hungry? I can make you something." "I ate at the hospital." She paused. "But thank you. Why don't you take a hot shower? I'll find you some clean clothes. They might be too big, but we'll get you proper things tomorrow." Ethan moved toward the door. "I'll be downstairs if you need anything. Anything at all." After he left, Amara stood in the middle of that perfect room, trying to process everything that had happened. This morning she'd woken up on a freezing street corner, terrified her sister was dying. Now she was in a mansion about to take a hot shower, while Destiny received medical care in a real hospital. Felt like a dream. A dream that might disappear when she woke up. But the hot water was real when she stepped into the shower. The soap smelled like lavender. She stood under the spray until her fingers pruned, washing away days of dirt and fear and exhaustion. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel that was softer than anything she'd ever touched, she found clothes laid out on the bed. Sweatpants with a drawstring, a long-sleeved shirt, thick socks. Everything was too big, but everything was clean. Amara dressed, then sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was so soft she almost sank into it. She thought about Destiny in the hospital, about whether the nurses would know how she liked to be held, about whether she'd be scared waking up in a strange place. A knock on the door made her jump. "Come in." Ethan entered carrying a mug of something steaming. "Hot chocolate. Thought you might like it before bed." Amara accepted the mug, wrapping her hands around its warmth. "Thank you. For everything. I know I already said it, but, really, thank you." "You don't have to keep thanking me." Ethan sat in the desk chair, giving her space. "Amara, tomorrow we're going to sort things out. Talk to social services, make sure Destiny gets the care she needs, figure out what comes next. But tonight I just want you to rest. You've been taking care of your sister all by yourself and you've been so brave. But you don't have to be brave every single minute. Not here." Something in Amara's chest cracked open. The fear she'd been holding back for 3 days, for 3 months, for her entire life, suddenly rushed to the surface. Tears came fast and hard and she couldn't stop them. Ethan didn't tell her not to cry. He didn't say everything would be okay. He just handed her a box of tissues and waited. "I was so scared," Amara sobbed. "I thought she was going to die. I thought no one would stop. I thought we'd just freeze there and no one would even notice. But someone did stop. I stopped." "Why?" Amara looked at him through her tears. "Everyone else just drove by. Why did you stop?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I almost didn't. I was on my way home from a business dinner, thinking about a deal that fell through, feeling sorry for myself. I saw you on the sidewalk and my first thought was to keep driving. Let someone else handle it." He met her eyes. Then I saw you holding your sister and I thought about what kind of person I've become. Someone who drives past a child in need because it's inconvenient. And I didn't like that person. You're not a bad person. You helped us. I should have helped sooner. I should have seen sooner. He stood up. Get some rest, Amara. We'll go visit Destiny first thing in the morning. After he left, Amara climbed under the covers. The bed was so comfortable, so warm, so safe. But she lay awake for a long time, staring at the ceiling, half expecting to wake up back on that cold street. Tomorrow would bring questions, social workers, decisions about their future. Tomorrow would bring uncertainty and fear and all the things she'd been running from. But tonight, for the first time in 3 days, Amara didn't have to worry about keeping Destiny warm. Didn't have to search for food or safe shelter. Didn't have to be small and invisible and scared. Tonight someone had stopped. Someone had seen them. Someone had helped. And maybe, just maybe, that meant tomorrow wouldn't be as terrifying as all the yesterdays had been. Morning light filtered through the bedroom curtains, soft and gentle. Amara woke slowly, confused by the warmth and softness surrounding her. For a moment she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The snowy street, the stranger who stopped, the hospital, this house. She sat up quickly, heart pounding. Destiny. Where was Destiny? Then she remembered, the hospital. Safe. Getting treatment. Amara forced herself to breathe slowly. A soft knock on the door. Amara? Are you awake? Ethan's voice. Yes, sir. He opened the door carrying a tray. I made breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice. Thought you might be hungry. Amara was starving. She hadn't realized how hungry a person could be until yesterday, when she'd finally had real food again. Thank you. Ethan set the tray on the desk. I called the hospital this morning. Destiny had a good night. Her fever is down and she's responding well to the antibiotics. Relief flooded through Amara so strongly she felt dizzy. Can we go see her? As soon as you finish breakfast. I also called my lawyer and a friend who works in family services. They're going to meet us at the hospital later to discuss your situation. Are they going to take Destiny away from me? The food suddenly looked less appealing. No one is taking your sister from you. That's what we're going to make sure of. Ethan's voice was firm. Eat your breakfast, then we'll go. The eggs were fluffy and warm. The toast had butter and jam. The orange juice tasted like sunshine. Amara ate every bite, trying not to rush even though her whole body wanted to run straight to the hospital. After breakfast, Ethan showed her a pile of clothes on the bed. I sent my assistant out early this morning. These should fit better than what you wore last night. Just temporary until we can take you proper shopping. Jeans that fit. A red sweater that was soft and warm. New socks and sneakers that didn't have holes. Amara changed quickly, barely believing that all of this was for her. The drive to the hospital felt longer than last night, probably because Amara kept bouncing her leg, impatient to see Destiny. Ethan didn't tell her to stop. He just drove steadily through the morning traffic, patient and calm. At the hospital they took the elevator to the pediatric ward. The nurses recognized them from last night and smiled. One pointed to a room at the end of the hall. She's been asking for her sister all morning. Amara ran. Destiny was sitting up in the hospital bed, looking small among all the white sheets and pillows. But her eyes were brighter than yesterday. Her cheeks had color. When she saw Amara, she held out her arms and made a happy sound. Des. Amara carefully hugged her sister, mindful of all the tubes and wires. You look so much better. Mara, Destiny said. One of her few words. She patted Amara's face with her small hands. I told you I'd come back. I always come back. A doctor entered the room, the same one from last night. Good morning, Amara. Your sister is improving quickly. Children are remarkably resilient. When can she come home? Amara asked, then realized her mistake. I mean, when can she leave? Probably another 2 or 3 days. We want to make sure the infection is completely cleared and that she can eat and drink normally. The doctor looked at Ethan. Has social services been contacted? They'll be here this afternoon, Ethan said. The doctor nodded. Amara, I need to examine your sister now. You can stay if you'd like, but it might be boring. I'm staying, Amara said firmly. She stood by the bed while the doctor checked Destiny's vitals, listened to her lungs, looked in her ears and throat. Destiny cooperated remarkably well, probably because Amara held her hand the whole time. Everything looks good, the doctor said. Keep doing what we're doing. After the doctor left, a nurse brought breakfast for Destiny. Oatmeal, applesauce, milk. Amara helped her sister eat, wiping her chin, making sure she drank enough. Simple tasks, but they felt right. They felt normal. Ethan sat in the corner making quiet phone calls and answering emails on his phone. He didn't hover or interrupt. He just stayed a steady presence. Around 11, a woman in a blue pantsuit entered the room. She had short brown hair and kind eyes behind glasses. "Hello. I'm Susan Martinez from Child Protective Services. You must be Amara." Amara's body went rigid. She pulled Destiny closer. "It's okay," Ethan said quietly, standing up. "Susan is here to help, not to separate you." Susan sat down in a chair across from them. "Amara, I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Do I have to answer? You don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with. But answering helps me understand your situation so I can help you better." Amara looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragement. "Okay. Can you tell me about your mother? What's her name?" "Nicole Johnson." "When did you last see her?" 3 days ago. She left our apartment and said she'd be back in an hour. She didn't come back." Susan wrote notes on a tablet. "Has this happened before?" Amara hesitated. Telling the truth meant admitting her mother wasn't perfect. But lying wouldn't help Destiny. "Sometimes she leaves for a day or two. But she always comes back. Always." "Where is your apartment?" "We got evicted. The building was condemned." Amara's voice got quieter. "We didn't have anywhere else to go." "Do you have other family? Grandparents, aunts, uncles?" "No one. Just us." Susan's expression was sympathetic. "What about your father? Or Destiny's father?" "I never met my dad. Destiny's dad either. My mama said he left before Des was born." More notes. "Amara, you did an incredible job taking care of your sister. Most 9-year-olds wouldn't have survived what you went through. I'm almost 10. It seemed important to correct that. Even so, you showed remarkable courage." Susan looked at Ethan. "Mr. Bradford has told me he's willing to serve as a temporary guardian while we locate your mother and assess the situation. Are you comfortable with that arrangement? What happens if you don't find my mama? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, our priority is keeping you and Destiny safe and together." "Then yes, I'm comfortable." "Good." Susan stood up. "I'll be checking in regularly. And Amara? If you need anything or if anything makes you uncomfortable, you call me immediately. Here's my card with my direct number." After Susan left, Amara felt like she could breathe again. She seemed nice. "Susan is good at her job," Ethan said. "She genuinely wants to help families." "Will she really find my mama?" "They'll do everything they can." Amara turned back to Destiny, who had fallen asleep holding a stuffed bunny one of the nurses had given her. "Sometimes I get so mad at Mama. She makes promises she doesn't keep. She forgets to buy food, or she comes home really late, or she sleeps all day. But she's still my mama. And I know she loves us." "Love and being able to take care of someone aren't always the same thing," Ethan said gently. "Your mother might love you very much but still struggle to give you what you need. Is that what happened with your wife? The one you bought the big house with?" Ethan looked surprised by the question. "That was different. My wife died 5 years ago. Cancer." "I'm sorry." "Thank you." He was quiet for a moment. "We never had children. She wanted to wait until I wasn't working so much. Then she got sick and suddenly there was no more time." He looked at the sleeping baby in the hospital bed. "I used to think I was too busy for kids. Too busy building my company, making money, closing deals. Now I realize I was just too busy for what actually mattered." "Is that why you stopped?" "Last night?" "Partly. But mostly because I saw you and remembered what real bravery looks like. What real love looks like." They spent the rest of the day at the hospital. Amara played with Destiny when she was awake, sang to her, told her stories about the big house they were staying in. Ethan made calls, worked on his laptop, but never complained about spending his whole day in a hospital room. In the afternoon, a police officer came by. Officer Rachel Hayes, according to her badge. She had kind eyes and a gentle way of asking questions. "Amara, we're looking for your mother. Can you describe her for me?" Amara described Nicole, thin, with dark hair usually pulled back in a ponytail, brown eyes, a small scar on her left hand from a cooking accident when Amara was 5. She told Officer Hayes the last address she knew, the names of the few friends her mother had mentioned, the places she sometimes went. "We'll do our best to find her," Officer Hayes promised. "In the meantime, you're in good hands." After the officer left, Amara asked the question that had been bothering her all day. "What if she doesn't want to be found?" Ethan didn't give her false reassurance. "Then we'll deal with that when the time comes. But right now, let's focus on getting Destiny healthy." By evening, Destiny was noticeably stronger. She babbled, played with toys, even laughed when Amara made funny faces. The change in just 24 hours was remarkable. "Time to go," Ethan said gently. "Destiny needs to rest, and so do you." "Can't I stay? What if she wakes up scared?" A nurse overheard. "I'll be checking on her every hour. And there's a night nurse who's wonderful with babies. She'll be fine, sweetie." Reluctantly, Amara kissed Destiny's forehead. "I'll be back tomorrow. Sleep good, okay?" In the car on the way home, Amara stared out the window at the darkening sky. "Thank you for staying all day. I know you probably had work stuff to do. Nothing more important than making sure you and Destiny were okay." Back at the house, Ethan made dinner, pasta with tomato sauce and garlic bread. Simple but delicious. They ate at the kitchen table, and Amara found herself relaxing slightly. This man who had been a stranger yesterday was starting to feel safe. "What happens next?" she asked, pushing pasta around on her plate. "Tomorrow we go back to the hospital. We keep visiting Destiny every day until she's released. Meanwhile, the authorities search for your mother. And you." He paused. "You get to just be a kid for a while. No taking care of anyone else. No worrying about food or shelter. Just rest." "I don't know how to do that." "Then we'll figure it out together." That night, lying in the comfortable bed in the guest room, Amara thought about Susan's questions, about the police looking for her mother, about what might happen next. The uncertainty was terrifying. But when she closed her eyes, she didn't see that frozen street corner. She saw Destiny's bright eyes, her sister's improving color, the way she'd laughed today. Someone had stopped. Someone had helped. And for the first time in Amara's life, she didn't feel completely alone. 3 days passed in a gentle rhythm. Every morning, Ethan and Amara drove to the hospital. Every day, Destiny grew stronger. The tubes came out. The monitors were removed. She started eating solid food and crawling around the hospital bed. On the 4th morning, Ethan received a phone call while they were having breakfast. Amara watched his face change as he listened, becoming more serious. "They found the apartment building," he said after hanging up. "Officer Hayes wants to meet us there this morning. They've been searching for your mother and they want to see if there are any clues." Amara's stomach twisted. "Can't they just go without us?" "They need you to identify which apartment was yours. And Susan thinks it might help you to get closure." Ethan sat down across from her. "You don't have to go if you don't want to. I can tell them no." But Amara shook her head. She'd been brave on that street corner. She could be brave now. "I'll go." The building looked worse in daylight. The red brick was crumbling in places. Several windows were boarded up. Bright orange signs declared it unsafe for occupancy. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, but someone had cut a hole in it. Officer Hayes and Susan Martinez waited by the entrance. Another officer stood nearby, and a man in a suit who introduced himself as someone from the City Housing Authority. "The building's been condemned for 3 months, the housing man explained. "We've been trying to clear it out, but some people refuse to leave." "We didn't refuse," Amara said quietly. "We didn't have anywhere else to go." Susan touched her shoulder gently. "No one's blaming you, sweetie." They entered through a side door that hung crooked on broken hinges. Inside, the hallway was dark and smelled of mold and something worse. Broken glass crunched under their feet. Graffiti covered the walls. "3rd floor," Amara said. "Apartment 3D." The stairs were treacherous, with some steps completely missing. Ethan stayed close to Amara, ready to catch her if she slipped. The 3rd floor hallway was worse than the first, with water damage staining the ceiling and puddles on the floor. Apartment 3D had been pried open. The door hung at an angle. Amara stopped outside, her heart pounding. This had been home. Not a good home, not a safe home, but the only home she'd known. "Take your time," Susan said. Amara stepped inside. The apartment was tiny. One main room that served as living area, kitchen, and bedroom for all 3 of them, with a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. Most of their belongings were gone, probably taken by whoever had broken in. The few things that remained were scattered and broken. Amara walked through the space, her footsteps echoing. In the corner where she and Destiny had slept, she found one of Destiny's baby blankets, dirty but still there. She picked it up, held it close. "Did your mother leave anything behind? Any notes, any indication where she might have gone?" Officer Hayes asked gently. Amara looked around. On the small counter that passed for a kitchen, she spotted a piece of paper under an overturned cup. She pulled it out. It was a handwritten note. "Gone to get help. Be back soon. Love you both, Mama." The words blurred as tears filled Amara's eyes. She did leave a note. She really was coming back. Can I see that? Officer Hayes asked. Amara handed over the note carefully like it was precious. Because it was. It was proof her mother hadn't just abandoned them without a word. The officer photographed the note, then let Amara keep it. This helps. We'll check local rehab centers, hospitals, shelters. If she went to get help, there should be a record. What kind of help? Ethan asked. Officer Hayes and Susan exchanged looks. Susan answered. Based on what neighbors have told us, Nicole has struggled with substance abuse. Several people mentioned she'd been trying to get into a treatment program but was on a waiting list. Amara didn't say anything. She'd known about her mother's problems, even if she didn't fully understand them. She'd seen the pills, the needles, the times her mother couldn't get out of bed. She'd learned not to ask questions. In the bathroom, Amara found more of Destiny's things. Baby shampoo, a rubber duck, tiny socks. She gathered what she could carry. The bedroom corner held one treasure, a photo album, water-damaged but intact. Amara opened it to see pictures of happier times. Her mother smiling, holding baby Amara. A birthday party with a homemade cake. Destiny as a newborn, tiny and perfect. Can I take this? She asked. Of course, Susan said. Take anything you want to keep. But there wasn't much left to take. Most of their life had already been lost to time and circumstance and the scavengers who picked through condemned buildings. On their way out, they ran into an older woman in the hallway. She looked at Amara with recognition. You're Nicole's girl, she said. You and the baby okay? Yes, ma'am. Do you know where my mama went? The woman shook her head. She knocked on my door that morning, asked if I could watch you two for a bit. I told her I was leaving, getting out before they tore this place down. She looked real desperate. Said she'd made a call, that help was coming, that she just needed to get somewhere safe. The woman paused. I'm sorry I didn't take you with me. I should have. It's okay, Amara said, even though it wasn't. Back outside, breathing fresh air, Amara felt both lighter and heavier. They had some answers but not the ones that mattered most. Her mother had meant to come back. Had been trying to get help. But where was she now? What happens next? Amara asked as they walked back to Ethan's car. We keep looking, Officer Hayes said. And we keep you safe in the meantime. In the car, Amara clutched Destiny's blanket and the photo album. Ethan didn't try to fill the silence with empty words. He just drove steady and calm. She wasn't a bad mother, Amara said finally. She had problems but she loved us. She tried. I believe you, Ethan said. Everyone's going to think she abandoned us on purpose. What people think doesn't change the truth. You know your mother better than anyone. They stopped at the hospital on the way home. Destiny was scheduled for discharge the next day, and the doctors wanted to go over care instructions. When they entered the room, Destiny's face lit up. Mara. Amara scooped up her sister, holding her tight. Look what I brought you. She showed Destiny the baby blanket, the one she'd slept with since birth. Destiny grabbed it immediately, rubbing the soft fabric against her cheek. The doctor came in with a clipboard. She's made a full recovery. It's remarkable, really. A few more days without treatment. She left that thought unfinished. You can take her home tomorrow. Here's a list of medications and instructions. Make sure she finishes all the antibiotics. She doesn't have a home, Amara said quietly. We don't have a home. The doctor looked at Ethan. The discharge papers need a guardian signature and a home address. They'll come home with me, Ethan said without hesitation. I've already set up a room for the baby, hired a nurse to help during the day, got all the supplies they'll need. The doctor nodded, making notes. That works. We'll need to schedule a follow-up appointment in 2 weeks. After the doctor left, Amara sat on the bed with Destiny in her lap. Did you really set up a room for her? I did. Want to see it when we get home. You didn't have to do all that. I wanted to. Ethan sat in the chair by the bed. Amara, I know this situation is temporary. I know you're hoping your mother will be found, that things will go back to normal. But while you're with me, I want you to feel like it's your home too. Not just a place you're staying. Why are you being so nice to us? Because you deserve it. Because every child deserves safety and kindness and someone who shows up. He paused. And honestly? Because taking care of you two has made me feel more human than I have in years. That evening back at the house, Ethan showed Amara the nursery he'd prepared. The room next to Amara's had been transformed. A crib with a mobile hanging above it. A changing table stocked with diapers and wipes. Shelves full of baby toys. A rocking chair by the window. When did you do all this? Amara asked, amazed. I had help. My assistant, some contractors, the nurse I hired. He opened the closet to reveal baby clothes in various sizes. I wasn't sure what you'd need, so I got everything. Amara walked around the room, touching things gently. A stuffed elephant. A soft blanket. Board books about animals and colors. Destiny's going to love this. I hope so. That night, Amara sat on her bed, looking through the photo album she'd rescued. Pictures of a life that felt both very close and very far away. Her mother's face, smiling in photos from before things got bad. Before the evictions and the addiction and the desperate choices. A knock on the door. Ethan, carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Thought you might want some, he said. They sat together, drinking in comfortable silence. Finally, Amara spoke. Do you think they'll find her? I don't know. What happens if they don't? Then we figure out what's best for you and Destiny. One day at a time. Would we have to go to foster care? Not if I have anything to say about it. Ethan set down his mug. Amara, I can't make you promises about the future. But I can promise that I will do everything in my power to keep you and your sister together and safe. Even if my mama never comes back? Even then. Amara looked at this man who had been a stranger less than a week ago. Who had stopped when everyone else drove past. Who had opened his home and his heart without asking for anything in return. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. You're welcome. Now get some sleep. Big day tomorrow, bringing Destiny home. After he left, Amara thought about the word home. The apartment had been a place to sleep, but it had never felt truly safe. This house, with its comfortable bed and its hot chocolate and its kindness, was starting to feel more like home than anywhere she'd ever been. And that was both wonderful and terrifying. The next morning they brought Destiny home from the hospital. The baby was fascinated by everything. The car ride, the big house, the nursery prepared just for her. She crawled around exploring, babbling happily. Amara watched her sister with relief and joy. Destiny was healthy. Destiny was safe. They'd made it through the worst. The nurse Ethan had hired arrived at noon. Her name was Patricia, a warm woman in her 50s with silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes. She'd raised 4 children of her own and now helped other families. Hello, sweet girl, Patricia said to Destiny, who immediately held up her arms to be picked up. Aren't you friendly? But when Patricia tried to take Destiny from Amara, the baby cried and clung tighter. She doesn't know you yet, Amara said, defensive. That's okay. We'll take our time. Patricia smiled. How about you show me around? Tell me about Destiny's routine, what she likes, what makes her comfortable. Slowly, Amara relaxed. Patricia didn't try to take over or tell Amara she was doing things wrong. She just listened, made notes, offered gentle suggestions. You've done an amazing job taking care of your sister, Patricia said. But you're still a child yourself. Let me help carry some of the weight. What if I forget how? What if I stop being useful? Patricia looked at her kindly. Taking care of someone isn't what makes you valuable, Amara. You're valuable just by being you. Over the next few days they fell into a routine. Mornings were for playing with Destiny, making sure she ate well, taking her for walks in the stroller Ethan had bought. Patricia was there to help, but she let Amara lead, respecting the bond between the sisters. Afternoons were different. Ethan had enrolled Amara in the local elementary school, but before she started, he'd hired a tutor to assess what she'd missed. The tutor, Mr. James, was patient and encouraging. You're actually ahead in reading, he told Amara after their first session. And your math skills are solid. You've just got some gaps from missing school. I used to read to Destiny all the time, Amara said. From the library books. Well, it paid off. You're a bright kid. But going to school was terrifying. Amara hadn't been in a classroom in months. What if the other kids asked questions? What if they found out she'd lived on the street? What if they made fun of her? The night before her first day, she couldn't sleep. Finally, she crept downstairs to get water and found Ethan in the kitchen making tea. Can't sleep? He asked. Amara shook her head. Want to talk about it? Everything spilled out. Her fears about school, about the other kids, about not fitting in, about being behind, about being different. Ethan listened to all of it. Then he said, when I was in 5th grade, my parents went through a messy divorce. We lost our house. My mom and I lived in her car for 3 months. Amara stared at him. Really? Really? I was so scared to go to school, scared someone would find out. But you know what I learned? Most people are dealing with their own problems. They're not paying as much attention to you as you think. Did anyone find out? Eventually. And some kids were mean about it. But some kids were kind. And those are the ones who mattered. He poured her a glass of milk. You're not going to school to prove anything to anyone. You're going to learn to make friends to be a kid. If people ask about your situation, you can share as much or as little as you want. What if I can't do it? Then we'll figure something else out. But Amara, you survived on the streets for 3 days keeping your baby sister alive. You can handle elementary school. She laughed despite her nerves. When you put it that way. The next morning, wearing new clothes and carrying a new backpack filled with supplies, Amara walked into her 4th grade classroom. The teacher, Mrs. Peterson, greeted her warmly and introduced her to the class without making a big deal of it. Class, this is Amara Johnson. She'll be joining us starting today. Let's make her feel welcome. The kids said hello, then went back to their morning work. It was anticlimactic, which was perfect. At recess, a girl with braids approached her. "Want to play jump rope?" "I don't really know how," Amara admitted. "I'll teach you. I'm Keisha." "Wait, let me use a different name. I'm Brianna." "Cool. Come on." Just like that, Amara had her first friend. The days began to blur together in the best way. School in the mornings, where Amara discovered she actually enjoyed learning when she wasn't exhausted and starving. Home in the afternoons to play with Destiny. Dinners with Ethan where they talked about their days. But underneath the routine, worry gnawed at her. 2 weeks had passed since that night on the street. 2 weeks with no word about her mother. Officer Hayes called regularly with updates, but they all amounted to the same thing. Nothing. No Nicole Johnson checked into any treatment centers. No Jane Does matching her description in hospitals. No arrests or sightings or leads. It was like her mother had vanished. What if something bad happened to her? Amara asked Susan during one of her check-in visits. What if she's hurt somewhere? We're doing everything we can to find her, Susan said gently. But Amara, we also need to start thinking about long-term plans for you and Destiny. What do you mean? Mr. Bradford has formally applied to become your temporary foster parent. If your mother isn't found within the next few weeks, we'll need to start court proceedings to determine custody. But what if she comes back? What if she's looking for us? If she comes back, we'll deal with that then. But we can't leave you in limbo forever. That night, Amara asked Ethan about it. They were in the living room, Destiny asleep upstairs, a fire crackling in the fireplace. "Do you really want to be our foster parent?" she asked. "Yes." "Why?" Ethan set down the book he'd been reading. "Because I care about you. Both of you. Because I want to make sure you're safe and cared for. Because..." He paused. "Because having you here has filled a hole in my life I didn't even know was there. But we're not your real family. Family isn't always about blood, Amara. It's about who shows up, who stays, who cares. My mama cared. She just couldn't show up." "I know. And that must hurt." It did hurt. It hurt so much that sometimes Amara felt like her chest might crack open from it. Her mother had loved them but hadn't been enough. Had tried but had failed. Had promised but had disappeared. "Do you think I'll end up like her?" Amara asked quietly. "Do you think I'll have problems like she did?" "No. You know why? Because you're aware of the possibility, and you're strong enough to make different choices." Ethan moved to sit next to her on the couch. "Your mother's struggles don't define you. They're part of your story, but they're not the whole story." "What is my whole story?" "That's for you to write. But I'll tell you what I see. A brave, smart, loving girl who protected her sister against impossible odds. A girl who's learning to trust again. A girl with her whole future ahead of her." Amara leaned against his shoulder, something she'd been too wary to do before. "Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for letting me in." Upstairs, Destiny cried out. Both of them stood immediately, but Amara was faster. "I've got her," she said. In the nursery, Destiny was standing in her crib, tears on her cheeks. Amara picked her up, rocking her gently. "Just a bad dream, Des. You're okay. We're both okay." Destiny nestled against her, thumb in her mouth, settling quickly. But instead of putting her back in the crib, Amara carried her to the rocking chair by the window. Outside, snow was falling again. Soft and gentle, not the brutal storm from that terrible night. Amara watched it drift past the window, holding her sister close. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. "I don't know what happens next, but we're going to be okay." And for the first time since this all began, she almost believed it. Subscribe if this story is teaching you something about resilience, hope, and the power of showing up. Comment, what would you do if you were Ethan? How far would you go to help a stranger in need? 6 weeks after that frozen night, winter began loosening its grip. The snow melted into slush, then into puddles. Early crocuses poked through the mud in Ethan's front yard. Amara watched them from the window, amazed that something could grow in ground that had been frozen solid. Destiny had become a different baby. Healthy, happy, growing fast. She'd learned 3 new words: Mara, Amara, Ethan, and no. She loved to toddle around the house, exploring everything, making everyone laugh with her curiosity. Amara had settled into school. She'd become friends with Brianna and 2 other girls, Sophia and Jasmine. Wait, I used Jasmine. Let me fix that. Sophia and Kayla. They ate lunch together, played at recess, started doing homework as a group. But underneath the routine, the question remained: where was Nicole Johnson? The police had expanded their search beyond the city. They checked neighboring states, contacted family services across the region, followed every possible lead. Nothing. It's like she vanished into thin air, Officer Hayes said during one update. I'm sorry, Amara. We haven't given up, but the trail has gone cold. Susan had started the paperwork for Ethan to become a licensed foster parent. Home inspections, background checks, interviews, training classes. He'd passed everything easily. The court hearing is scheduled for next month, Susan told them during a visit. At that point, Ethan will officially become your foster parent unless Nicole is found before then. And if she shows up after? Amara asked. Then there will be another hearing to determine what's in your best interest. But that's a bridge we'll cross if we come to it. Amara didn't know how to feel. Part of her still hoped her mother would come back, would explain everything, would be healthy and ready to be a mom again. But another part of her was starting to accept that this life with Ethan might be permanent. And that wasn't entirely bad. One Saturday, Ethan surprised Amara with news. How would you feel about having some friends over? A birthday party? Amara's actual 10th birthday had passed while she was on the street, unmarked and unnoticed. But Ethan had found out from school records. A party? For me? For you? Nothing huge. Just your friends from school, some cake, some games? Whatever you want. Amara had never had a real birthday party. There had been a few years when her mother managed to get a cupcake with a candle, but never friends, never decorations, never the kind of party other kids talked about. Can we really? We absolutely can. So start thinking about what you want. Amara planned carefully with Patricia's help. Decorations in purple and silver, her favorite colors. A cake shaped like a book since she loved reading. Games in the backyard. Pizza for dinner. On the day of the party, Amara wore a new purple dress that Ethan had taken her shopping for. Destiny wore a matching purple outfit because she insisted on being like her big sister. Brianna, Sophia, and Kayla arrived with presents wrapped in bright paper. They oohed and awed over the decorations, played games on the lawn, ate pizza and laughed. When it was time for cake, Patricia brought it out with 10 candles blazing. Everyone sang happy birthday, while Amara stood there, overwhelmed. Make a wish, Ethan said gently. Amara closed her eyes. She wished for her mother to be safe wherever she was. She wished for Destiny to grow up happy. She wished for this feeling, this warmth, this belonging to last. She blew out all the candles in one breath. Opening presents was almost too much. Books from Brianna. Art supplies from Sophia. A friendship bracelet from Kayla. And from Ethan, a beautiful journal with her name engraved on the cover. For writing down your thoughts, he said. Or stories or anything you want. After the party, after her friends went home, Amara sat in her room with the journal open on her lap. She wrote her first entry. Today I turned 10 years old. I had a birthday party with friends and cake and presents. Ethan made it happen. He keeps making good things happen. I don't know where my mama is, but I hope she's okay. I hope she knows I still love her even though I'm learning to be happy here. Is it okay to be happy when she's missing? I feel guilty sometimes. But then Destiny laughs or Ethan makes pancakes or Patricia tells a funny story, and I can't help being a little bit happy. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I can miss my mama and still have good days. She closed the journal and looked at the small pile of presents on her desk. For the first time in her life she felt like a normal kid. Not someone managing an adult's problems. Not someone keeping a secret about where she slept at night. Just a 10-year-old girl having a birthday party. The next week brought another milestone. Ethan took both girls to his office. He'd mentioned his work before, but Amara had never seen where he went every day. The building was downtown, all glass and steel, with Bradford Enterprises written across the front in large letters. You own all this? Amara asked, staring up. The company owns it. I just run things. Inside, employees greeted Ethan with respect but also warmth. Several stopped to meet Amara and coo over Destiny. We heard you've joined Ethan's family, a woman named Miss Chin said. Wait, I can't use Chin. Let me revise. A woman named Miss Thompson said. He's been so much happier these past few weeks. Ethan's office was on the top floor with windows overlooking the whole city. Amara could see the hospital where Destiny had recovered. In the distance, though she couldn't make it out exactly, was the neighborhood where they used to live. "This is what you do every day?" Amara asked. "Usually. Though I've been working from home more lately." Ethan showed her around. The conference room with its big table, the break room with its fancy coffee machine, the cubicles where people typed and talked on phones. "It's very clean," Amara said. Ethan laughed. "Yes, it is. Very different from working from home with a toddler running around." At lunch, they went to a restaurant nearby. Destiny sat in a high chair, cheerfully throwing crackers on the floor. Amara tried to mind her manners, aware that people were watching them. "Relax," Ethan said. "You don't have to be perfect. Everyone's staring. They're probably thinking what a lovely family we make." Family. The word still felt strange and wonderful. On the walk back to the office, they passed a woman sitting on the sidewalk with a cardboard sign. Amara stopped short, memories flooding back. Ethan noticed. "You okay?" "That used to be me," Amara whispered. "Just a few weeks ago. But it's not you now. But it could have been. If you hadn't stopped." She couldn't finish the sentence. Ethan knelt beside her. "But I did stop. And you're safe. And that woman on the sidewalk, someone will stop for her too. We can't save everyone, but we can help when we're able." He pulled out his wallet and handed Amara some bills. "Why don't you give this to her?" Amara approached the woman nervously. "Excuse me, ma'am." "Here." The woman looked up, surprised. She was younger than Amara expected, maybe her mother's age. "Thank you, sweetheart. Bless you." Walking away, Amara thought about how easily that could still be her. How thin the line was between safety and danger, between having enough and having nothing. "Does it ever stop feeling scary?" she asked Ethan. "Knowing how close things came to being terrible?" "I don't think it stops. But it gets easier to live with." He took her hand. "And you use that fear to make sure you help others when you can." That night, Amara added another entry to her journal. "Today I saw a woman on the street asking for help. It could have been me. Could have been my mama. Ethan let me give her money. He says we help when we can. I want to remember what it felt like to need help so I never ignore someone else who's scared and alone." The weeks continued to pass. Spring came fully, bringing warm sunshine and blooming flowers. Destiny learned to say pretty when she saw flowers. Amara finished 4th grade with good grades, better than she'd ever managed before. The court hearing approached. Ethan's lawyer prepared the paperwork. Susan vouched for the placement. Everyone agreed it was the best outcome for the girls. Everyone except the part of Amara that still hoped her mother would appear. The night before the hearing, Amara couldn't sleep. She crept down to the kitchen for water and found Ethan there, looking at papers spread across the table. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. Amara shook her head. "What if she comes back tomorrow? What if she walks into that courtroom? Then we'll deal with it. Together. I don't know what I want to happen." "That's okay. You're allowed to have complicated feelings about your mother. Do you think I'm bad for being happy here? When she's out there somewhere, probably not happy at all?" Ethan set down his papers and gave her his full attention. "Listen to me carefully. Your happiness is not contingent on your mother's suffering. You can wish good things for her while also accepting the good things happening in your own life. But what if she needs me? You're a child. You're not supposed to save your parent. That's backwards." His voice was gentle but firm. "Your mother made choices that led to where she is. You didn't cause those problems and you can't fix them. What you can do is build a good life for yourself and your sister." Amara thought about that. About how she'd spent so much of her young life trying to fix things that were beyond her control. Trying to make her mother happy, trying to keep their family together, trying to manage situations no child should have to manage. "It's okay to just be a kid," Ethan added. "To go to school, make friends, have birthday parties, and not carry the weight of adult problems. Is that what you want? For me to just forget about her? No. I want you to remember her, love her, hope the best for her. But I also want you to move forward. Those two things don't cancel each other out." Amara climbed into the chair next to him. "What happens tomorrow?" "Tomorrow, a judge reviews everything. If no one objects, I become your official foster parent. You keep living here, going to school, being safe. And if she shows up? Then we figure it out. But Amara, she's had nearly 2 months. If she was able to come back, she likely would have by now." It was the truth Amara had been avoiding. Her mother wasn't coming back. Not because she didn't love them, but because something had prevented her. Something serious. Something that might not have a happy ending. I'm scared, Amara admitted. Me too, Ethan said. But we'll face it together. They sat in the quiet kitchen, two people brought together by chance and circumstance, now bound by something deeper. Not quite family yet, but getting closer every day. The courthouse was imposing, all marble and tall ceilings and echoing footsteps. Amara held Destiny's hand tightly as they walked through security, past busy lawyers and worried-looking families. Susan met them in the hallway outside the courtroom. Everything's ready. This should be straightforward. The judge just wants to make sure everyone's on the same page. What if someone objects? Amara asked. Who would object? Your mother hasn't been found, no other family has come forward, and every report shows you're thriving in Ethan's care. Still, Amara's stomach twisted with nerves. Inside the courtroom, they sat at a table with Ethan's lawyer, Mr. Patterson. Across the room, a lawyer representing the state sat alone. The judge's bench loomed above everything. All rise, a bailiff called. Judge Morrison entered, a black woman with gray hair and kind eyes behind reading glasses. She settled into her chair and reviewed the papers in front of her. Case number 2426 JD, regarding the placement of minors Amara Johnson, age 10, and Destiny Johnson, age 17 months. She looked over her glasses at them. Good morning. Good morning, Your Honor, everyone murmured. The proceedings began. Mr. Patterson explained the situation, how Ethan had found the girls, the hospitalization, the unsuccessful search for their mother, the temporary guardianship that had worked well for 2 months. Your Honor, Mr. Bradford has passed all home inspections, completed foster parent training, and provided excellent care for these children. We're requesting formal foster placement. The state's lawyer agreed. The state has no objections. These children are safe and thriving. Susan testified about her regular visits, about how Amara had settled into school, about how Destiny's health had improved, about the bond forming between the girls and Ethan. Then it was Amara's turn. Miss Johnson, please approach, Judge Morrison said. Amara walked to the witness stand on shaky legs. A bailiff helped her get settled. The judge smiled at her. You're not in any trouble, she said gently. I just want to ask you a few questions. Okay. How are things at Mr. Bradford's house? Good. Really good. He's nice to us. He makes sure we have everything we need. Do you feel safe there? Yes, ma'am. What about your sister? Is she being cared for well? Destiny's healthy and happy. She laughs all the time now. Before. Amara's voice caught. Before, she was sick and I didn't know how to help her. But now she's perfect. Judge Morrison made notes. Do you miss your mother? The question hit Amara hard. Yes. Every day. If she came back today, what would you want to happen? Amara thought carefully. I'd want her to be healthy. And I'd want to know why she left. But. She paused, gathering courage. But I don't know if I'd want to leave Ethan's house. Is that bad? It's not bad at all. It's honest. The judge's expression was warm. You're allowed to love your mother and also appreciate the stability Mr. Bradford provides. I just want everyone to be okay. I know you do, sweetheart. You can return to your seat. Back at the table, Ethan squeezed Amara's shoulder reassuringly. Judge Morrison reviewed her papers again, then spoke. I've read all the reports. I've seen the photographs of the home, the school records, the medical records. Everything indicates these children are receiving excellent care. She paused and Amara's heart pounded. However, I'm troubled by one thing. Mr. Bradford, you're a successful businessman with significant demands on your time. How do you plan to balance your work with the needs of 2 young children? Ethan stood. Your Honor, I've already made significant changes to my work schedule. I've delegated responsibilities, hired additional help at the company, and made it clear to my employees that my priority is these children. That's commendable. But what happens when a business crisis occurs? When you need to travel? I have a support system in place. Patricia, the nurse I've hired, is available full-time. My assistant has been trained to handle emergencies. And frankly, Your Honor, I've learned that no business crisis is more important than showing up for these girls. The judge nodded slowly. Miss Martinez, your assessment? Susan stood. Your Honor, I've never seen a placement work this well this quickly. Mr. Bradford has exceeded every expectation. These children are thriving. Very well. Judge Morrison picked up her gavel. I'm granting temporary foster placement to Ethan Bradford for Amara and Destiny Johnson. We'll review the situation in 6 months. If the mother is located during this time, we'll revisit custody. But for now, these children will remain in Mr. Bradford's care. The gavel came down with a decisive crack. It was done. Outside the courtroom, Ethan lifted Destiny into his arms and put his hand on Amara's shoulder. How do you feel? Scared. Relieved. Sad. Happy. Everything all at once. That sounds about right. Susan hugged them goodbye. I'll continue checking in but less frequently now. You're doing great, all of you. On the drive home, Amara stared out the window. Officially, they were foster children now. Officially, Ethan was their guardian. It should have felt like a victory, but it felt complicated. You're very quiet, Ethan said. I thought I'd feel different. But I just feel the same. What did you expect to feel? I don't know. More certain? Like now everything's decided and settled. Life rarely works that way. Things are always uncertain to some degree. But we have stability now, legal protection. That matters. At home, Patricia had prepared a special dinner. Not a celebration exactly, just a nice meal to mark the day. They ate together, the four of them, like a family. That night, Amara wrote in her journal. Today the judge made it official. We're foster children. Ethan is our foster dad. I thought it would feel bigger, more important. But it just feels like another day. Except it's not just another day. It's the day we officially became part of this family. I still miss my mama. I still wonder where she is. But I'm also grateful for Ethan and Patricia and this safe place. Is it possible to be sad and happy at the same time? Because that's how I feel. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Officer Hayes delivered it personally. We found something, she said, sitting down in Ethan's living room. A Jane Doe who matches Nicole's description was admitted to a hospital 3 states away 7 weeks ago. She'd overdosed, was unconscious for several days. When she woke up, she had significant memory problems. Amara's heart stopped. Is she okay? She's alive. Physically recovered. But she's been in a psychiatric facility since then, receiving treatment for addiction and memory issues. She just recently started remembering things, including having children. Can we see her? Amara asked immediately. Officer Hayes looked at Ethan, then back at Amara. That's complicated. She's still in treatment, not ready for visitors yet. But she's been asking about her daughters. The facility wants to arrange a supervised call first. When? This week if you're willing. Amara looked at Ethan, at Destiny playing on the floor, at this life they'd built. Then she nodded. I'm willing. The day of the call, Amara was a bundle of nerves. Ethan set up his laptop on the kitchen table, Patricia held Destiny nearby, and Susan came over for support. When the video call connected, Amara saw her mother's face for the first time in nearly 3 months. Nicole looked different. Thinner, older, with dark circles under her eyes. But her eyes were clear in a way Amara hadn't seen in years. Amara, Nicole breathed. Oh baby, I'm so sorry. Tears came instantly. Mama? Where have you been? I tried to get help. I called a crisis line, they sent an ambulance, but I collapsed before I could tell anyone about you girls. When I woke up, I didn't remember anything. It took weeks for my memory to come back. Nicole was crying too. I thought about you every second once I remembered. Are you okay? Is Destiny okay? We're okay. We're safe. A man named Ethan found us and he's been taking care of us. Nicole looked past Amara to where Ethan stood in the background. Is that him? Ethan stepped forward. Mrs. Johnson, I'm Ethan Bradford. Your daughters are doing well. They're healthy, safe, and cared for. Thank you, Nicole whispered. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for not leaving them. Can you come home? Amara asked. Can we be a family again? Nicole's face crumpled. Baby, I need to finish treatment. I need to get better, really better, before I can take care of you. The doctors say it might be months. But after? After you can? I don't know what happens after. But I'm going to work hard to get healthy. I'm going to do everything right this time. I promise. They talked for 30 more minutes. Destiny babbled at the screen, not quite understanding but happy to see Mama. Nicole cried seeing how big Destiny had gotten. She asked about school, about Ethan's house, about everything. When the call ended, Amara sat staring at the blank screen. You okay? Ethan asked gently. She's alive. She's getting help. That's good. But I don't know what happens now. Everything just got more complicated. Susan spoke up. The facility where your mother is staying has an excellent success rate. If she completes treatment, gets stable housing and employment, and demonstrates she can care for you safely, then yes, there could be a path to you going back with her. Do you want that? Ethan asked quietly. It was the question Amara had been avoiding. I want her to be healthy. I want her to be happy. I want to stop worrying about her. But I also... She looked around at this house, at the life they'd built. I also don't want to leave here. Those feelings can both be true, Patricia said gently. You're not betraying your mother by being happy here. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She went down to the living room where she knew Ethan would be, reading by the fireplace like always. Can't sleep? He asked. She curled up in the chair across from him. What if she gets better and I have to choose? Then you'll choose. And whatever you choose will be okay. What if I choose wrong? There's no wrong choice here. There's only what feels right for you and destiny. What do you want us to choose? Ethan set down his book. I want you to be happy and safe. If that's with your mother, then I'll support that fully. I'll make sure she has resources, help her get on her feet, stay in your life as much as you want. But if that's here... He paused. If that's here, then nothing would make me happier. Really? Really? Having you girls here has been the best thing that's happened to me in years. We're just foster kids though. Not real family. You're as real to me as family gets. His voice was thick with emotion. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Showing up does. And I show up for you every day because I choose to, not because I have to. Amara felt something shift inside her. A fear letting go. A truth settling in. Whatever happened with her mother, she would always have this. This man who chose to stop, who chose to stay, who chose to love two girls who weren't even his. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Thank you for trusting me. They sat in comfortable silence, the fire crackling, both of them thinking about the future and all its uncertain possibilities. Spring turned to early summer. School ended for the year. Destiny celebrated her second birthday with a small party. Amara finished her first journal and started a second one. Nicole called every week from the treatment facility. The calls were good mostly. She was making progress, working through her addiction issues, learning coping skills, planning for her future. But she was still months away from completing the program. One evening in mid-June, a thick envelope arrived. Official looking, from the treatment facility. Ethan opened it at the kitchen table while Amara watched nervously. He read silently, his expression unreadable. Finally he looked up. Your mother has completed the first phase of her treatment. She's doing well. The facility is recommending she move to a transitional housing program where she can work and continue therapy. That's good, right? It's very good. It means she's making real progress. He handed Amara a letter that had been in the envelope. This is for you. Amara recognized her mother's handwriting on the envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Dear Amara, I know I've said I'm sorry 100 times, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for leaving you on that street. I'm sorry for all the times I wasn't the mother you deserved. I'm sorry for putting you in a position where you had to take care of your baby sister because I couldn't. But I'm getting better. Really better this time. I'm learning why I made the choices I did, learning how to cope with my problems in healthy ways. I'm learning to be the mother you both need. The doctors say I can start having supervised visits next month. I want to see you. I want to hold Destiny. I want to prove that I can be strong and reliable and present. I know you have a good life with Ethan now. The social worker tells me you're happy, healthy, doing well in school. Part of me is relieved. Part of me is heartbroken that someone else is giving you what I couldn't. I love you, baby. I love you and Destiny more than anything. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for the pain I caused. Love, Mama. Tears dripped onto the paper, blurring some of the words. Amara wiped her eyes with her sleeve. She wants to visit, she said. How do you feel about that? Scared. What if seeing her makes everything confusing again? It probably will make things confusing. But you still deserve to see your mother if she's healthy enough for visits. Over the next few weeks, arrangements were made. Nicole would come to the city, stay in transitional housing, meet with her daughters and supervised visits at a family center. Small steps toward possible reunification. The night before the first visit, Amara couldn't eat dinner. Her stomach was tied in knots. What if she's different? She asked Patricia, who was helping her pick out clothes for the next day. She probably will be different. Treatment changes people. What if she's not different enough? Then we'll handle that too. Destiny had no memory of their mother. At 2 years old, her whole world was this house, Ethan, Patricia, and Amara. The concept of mama was abstract. How do I explain it to her? Amara asked. You tell her she's going to meet someone special who loves her very much. The family center was cheerful, with bright murals on the walls and toys scattered around. A social worker named Mr. Rodriguez greeted them. Nicole is in the visiting room. Are you ready? Amara nodded, holding Destiny's hand. Ethan stayed in the waiting area, giving them privacy but staying close. The visiting room had comfortable chairs, a small play area, large windows. And there, sitting nervously by the window, was Nicole. She stood when they entered. Amara. Oh sweetheart, you've grown. Hi mama. They hugged, awkward at first, then tighter. Nicole smelled different. Clean, like soap and shampoo instead of cigarettes and whatever else had always clung to her before. And this is Destiny? Nicole knelt down, tears streaming. Baby girl, you're so big. Destiny hid behind Amara's legs, shy. It's okay, Amara said. This is our mama. She's been away but now she's here. Slowly, carefully, Destiny reached out to touch Nicole's face. Mama? Yes, baby. I'm your mama. They sat on the floor with the toys, Amara between them at first, gradually relaxing. Nicole asked questions about school, about Ethan, about their life. She didn't seem jealous or angry about their happiness. She seemed genuinely glad they'd been safe. I'm grateful to him, Nicole said. For stopping, for caring, for giving you what I couldn't. Do you hate him for it? Amara asked. No. How could I? He saved my daughter's lives. They spent an hour together. Not long enough to feel normal but long enough to remember the good parts of before. The way Nicole used to braid Amara's hair. The songs she sang to Destiny. The moments when she was present and loving and everything a mother should be. When the visit ended, Nicole held Amara close. I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to make you proud. I'm already proud, Amara whispered. You're trying. That's what matters. In the car on the way home, Destiny fell asleep immediately. Amara stared out the window, processing. How was it? Ethan asked. Good. Different. She seems healthier. But I don't know if I want to go back to living with her. Does that make me a bad daughter? It makes you honest. She's trying so hard. And I'm happy for her. But this is my home now. You're my family now. How do I tell her that without breaking her heart? Ethan pulled the car over into a parking lot. He turned to face Amara fully. Listen to me. You are not responsible for your mother's feelings. You are not responsible for her recovery or her happiness. Your job is to be a kid and figure out what you need. But she'll be sad. Maybe. But a good mother, a healthy mother, wants what's best for her child even if it's not what she hoped for. If Nicole is really getting better, she'll understand that. What if they make me go back anyway? What if the court says I have to? Then I'll fight it. I'll hire the best lawyers, I'll advocate for your wishes, I'll make sure your voice is heard. You do that. I'd do anything for you and Destiny. Anything. Amara believed him. This man who had been a stranger 4 months ago had become the most reliable person in her life. Over the next few weeks, visits continued. Each one went well. Nicole was consistent, appropriate, engaged. She brought small gifts, coloring books, a stuffed animal for Destiny, a new journal for Amara. But she also noticed things. How Destiny called Ethan with such affection. How Amara talked about school and friends and a life that didn't include her mother. How comfortable the girls were in their routine. After one visit, Nicole asked to speak with Ethan. Susan arranged it, supervising the meeting. Amara and Destiny waited in the play area while the adults talked in another room. Through the window, Amara could see her mother crying. When they came out, Nicole's eyes were red but she was smiling. I need to talk to you, she said to Amara. They sat together on a bench outside the family center. The summer sun was warm, birds singing in nearby trees. Baby, I've been thinking a lot about what's best for you and Destiny. And I realized something important. Nicole took Amara's hands. I love you. I will always love you. But loving you means wanting you to be happy and safe, even if that's not with me. Mama, no. You're getting better. We can try again. I'm getting better. And I'm going to keep getting better. But the truth is, even when I'm completely healthy, I'm starting over. I'll have to find a job, find an apartment, build a stable life. That's going to take time. And you girls need stability now, not someday. Tears streamed down Amara's face. So what are you saying? I'm saying that Ethan loves you. He has the resources to give you everything you need. He's already been more of a parent to you in 4 months than I managed in 10 years. Nicole's voice broke. I'm saying that if he wants to adopt you, if you want him to adopt you, I won't stand in the way. You're giving up on us? No. I'm finally putting you first. There's a difference. Nicole pulled Amara close. I'll always be your mother. I'll always love you. But I don't have to be the person raising you for that to be true. They cried together, mourning what could have been, accepting what was. Inside the family center, Ethan waited with Destiny. Susan told him what Nicole had decided. She's willing to terminate her parental rights if you want to adopt them, Susan said. It's an incredibly selfless decision. I need to talk to Amara first. This has to be her choice. That night, after Destiny was asleep, Amara found Ethan in his home office. He was looking at papers, adoption forms he'd printed but hadn't filled out yet. Mama told me, Amara said from the doorway. Come here. He gestured to the chair beside his desk. Amara sat down. Do you really want to adopt us? More than anything. But only if it's what you want. What if I mess up? What if I turn out like my mama? Then we'll handle it together. But Amara, you're not doomed to repeat her mistakes. You're your own person with your own future. What about Destiny? She doesn't understand any of this. We'll help her understand as she grows. We'll make sure she knows about Nicole, knows her story, knows she was loved even when things fell apart. Amara looked at those blank adoption forms. If we do this, are you really going to be our dad? Not foster dad, not guardian. Real dad. In every way that matters, yes. And we'll really be a family? Forever? Forever. Amara thought about the past 4 months. How Ethan had shown up every single day. How he'd been patient with her fears, gentle with Destiny, consistent in his love. How he'd made them part of his life without asking for anything in return. Okay, she said quietly. I want you to adopt us. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He pulled her into a hug. I promise I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of that trust. You already are. They sat together in the quiet office, holding each other, while outside the summer evening faded into night. Somewhere across town, Nicole was beginning the long journey of rebuilding her life without her daughters. It was sad, it was heartbreaking, but it was also right. Sometimes love meant holding on. And sometimes love meant letting go. The adoption process took time. Lawyers drew up papers. Courts scheduled hearings. Nicole had to formally terminate her parental rights, a process that required counseling and multiple signatures and an appearance before a judge. Susan guided them through every step. This is permanent, she reminded everyone. Once the adoption is finalized, Ethan will legally be their father. Nicole won't have parental rights anymore. I understand, Nicole said during one meeting. I want this for them. But understanding didn't make it easy. Nicole struggled with the decision even though she knew it was right. The visits became harder, more emotional. I keep thinking about all the time I'm going to miss, she told Amara during one visit. Your first day of middle school, Destiny's first day of kindergarten, all the moments I should be there for. You can still be part of our lives, Amara said. Ethan said so. He said you can visit, you can call, you can be like an aunt or a family friend. That's generous of him. He's generous about everything. Nicole smiled through her tears. I'm glad. I'm glad you found someone so good. The court hearing for the termination of parental rights was scheduled for late August. Nicole had to appear and state on the record that she was voluntarily giving up her children. Amara and Destiny didn't have to be there, but Amara wanted to go. Ethan tried to talk her out of it. It's going to be emotional, he warned. It might be hard to watch. She's doing this for us. The least I can do is be there. On the day of the hearing, they all gathered in the courthouse. Nicole arrived with her counselor from the treatment program. She looked small and scared in her seat at the defendant's table. Judge Morrison presided again. She reviewed the case, the reports from Susan, the testimony from Nicole's treatment team. Mrs. Johnson, you understand that by terminating your parental rights, you will no longer be the legal parent of Amara and Destiny Johnson? You will have no legal custody, no right to make decisions about their upbringing, no automatic visitation rights. Yes, Your Honor. Nicole's voice was barely audible. And you're doing this voluntarily? No one is forcing you. I'm doing it voluntarily. It's what's best for my daughters. Can you explain why you believe this? Nicole took a shaky breath. Because I love them. Because they've suffered enough because of my mistakes. Because they have a chance at a stable, happy life with Mr. Bradford, and I won't take that away from them by being selfish. Do you have any concerns about Mr. Bradford's ability to parent your children? No, Your Honor. He's been wonderful. He's given them everything I couldn't. The judge looked at her papers, then at Nicole. This is a significant decision. Are you certain? I'm certain. Judge Morrison made some notes, then looked up. Very well. I'm granting your petition to terminate parental rights. Mr. Bradford, your adoption petition can now proceed. She brought down the gavel. It was done. Nicole stood on shaky legs and looked across the courtroom to where Amara sat. Their eyes met. Nicole mouthed, I love you. Amara mouthed it back. Outside the courthouse, Nicole hugged both girls tightly. Be good for your dad, she said. Be happy. That's all I want. Will we still see you? Destiny asked. She'd grown attached to these visits. If your dad says it's okay. It's okay, Ethan said immediately. You're always welcome in our lives, Nicole. You gave me the greatest gift imaginable. I won't forget that. They said goodbye in the courthouse parking lot. Nicole got into a van heading back to her transitional housing. Ethan loaded the girls into his car. Is she going to be okay? Amara asked as they drove away. I hope so. She's certainly going to try. Do you really mean it? That she can still visit? Of course. She's your birth mother. That relationship doesn't end just because the legal ties do. True to his word, Ethan set up a fund to help Nicole once she completed her treatment program. Money for first and last month's rent on an apartment. Money for work clothes and job training. Money for therapy sessions. You don't have to do all this, Nicole said when Susan told her about it. I want to, Ethan replied during a phone call. I want you to succeed. Not for my sake but for yours and for your daughters. They need to see that their mother can be healthy and stable. Why are you so kind? Because someone should have been this kind to you years ago. Maybe things would have been different. By September, Nicole had moved into a small studio apartment, started a job at a grocery store, and was attending regular therapy sessions. She sent pictures of her place to Amara, modest but clean with flowers on the windowsill. I'm building a life I can be proud of, she wrote. A life that proves I can be strong even if I'm not your mom anymore. The adoption finalization hearing was scheduled for October. This one was different from the previous hearings, celebratory rather than sad. They dressed up for it. Amara wore a blue dress she'd picked out specifically for the occasion. Destiny wore a matching blue outfit because she insisted on being like her big sister. The courtroom was full. Patricia came. Mr. Patterson, Ethan's lawyer. Susan. A few of Ethan's close friends from work. Even some of Amara's friends from school with their parents. Nicole came too. She sat in the back, quiet and supportive. Judge Morrison smiled when they entered. This is my favorite kind of case, she said. The ones with happy endings. The proceedings were brief. Mr. Patterson presented the final papers. Susan testified one last time about the successful placement. The judge asked Ethan if he was ready to take on the legal responsibility of being a father. Absolutely, Your Honor. It would be my greatest honor. Amara, would you approach? Amara walked to the witness stand again, but this time she wasn't nervous. Do you want Mr. Bradford to be your legal father? Yes, Your Honor. Very much. Why? Because he shows up. Because he's kind. Because he makes me feel safe. Because he loves me in Destiny, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Amara's voice was clear and strong. Because he's already my dad in every way that matters. Judge Morrison's eyes were misty. That's the best reason I've heard. You may return to your seat. Then the judge brought down her gavel. I hereby grant the petition for adoption. Effective immediately, Amara Johnson and Destiny Johnson are now Amara Bradford and Destiny Bradford, legal daughters of Ethan Bradford. The courtroom erupted in applause. Destiny clapped too, not quite understanding but caught up in the excitement. Amara ran to Ethan, throwing her arms around him. We're a family now, she said through happy tears. A real family. We were always a real family, Ethan replied, voice thick with emotion. This just makes it official. They signed the papers, Ethan's signature as father, Amara's signature because she was old enough to consent. Someone took photos. The three of them with the judge, with Susan, with all their supporters. Nicole approached afterward, hugging Amara tightly. I'm so happy for you, baby. This is what I wanted. Thank you, Amara whispered, for letting us have this. Thank you for being brave enough to build a new life. You deserved better than what I could give you. You gave me life. You gave me destiny. That's something. They held each other for a long moment, mother and daughter finding peace in their complicated love. At home that evening they celebrated with a dinner that Patricia had prepared, all of Amara and Destiny's favorite foods. There was a cake that said, "Welcome to the family" in frosting letters. Destiny fell asleep early, exhausted from the exciting day. Amara sat with Ethan in the living room, both of them still processing everything. How does it feel, he asked, to be Amara Bradford? Strange. Good strange. She tested it out. Amara Bradford. It sounds right. You know you don't have to forget where you came from, right? You can honor Nicole and still be happy here. I know. She's part of my story. The hard parts and the good parts. Amara paused. But you're the one who gave me a future. You're the one who made me believe good things could happen. You gave me a future too. Before I met you, I was just going through motions. Working, existing, but not really living. You and Destiny showed me what matters. They sat in comfortable silence, this newly official family, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. From a frozen street corner to a warm home. From desperation to hope. From strangers to father and daughters. Dad. Amara tested the word, still getting used to it. Yes. Thank you for stopping that night. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for letting me into your lives. For trusting me. Upstairs, Destiny slept peacefully in her crib, safe and loved. In her old apartment across town, Nicole sat in her modest studio, looking at the adoption announcement on her phone and crying tears that were both sad and happy. And in the living room, Ethan and Amara sat together, bound now not just by love and choice but by law. A family made not through biology but through compassion, patience, and the simple act of one person deciding to stop and help when everyone else drove by. Sometimes the smallest decisions create the biggest changes. Sometimes a single act of kindness rewrites multiple lives. Sometimes the family you choose becomes more real than the family you were born into. And sometimes, when someone asks for help, stopping is the most important thing you can do. Winter came again, but this time Amara watched the snow fall from inside a warm house with no fear. A year had passed since that terrible night. A year of healing, growing, and becoming a family. Amara was 11 now, thriving in 5th grade. She joined the school newspaper and discovered a love for writing. Her articles about student life and school events were popular, and her teacher said she had real talent. Destiny was 2.5, a bright, energetic toddler who loved books, music, and following her big sister everywhere. She called Ethan Daddy without hesitation, though Amara still struggled sometimes with the word, old loyalties making it feel complicated. Nicole had maintained her sobriety and stayed in regular contact. She visited once a month, bringing small gifts and updates about her life. She'd been promoted at the grocery store to assistant manager. She'd made friends in her support group. She was building a life. I'm proud of you, Ethan told her during one visit. You've worked hard. I had to. For them. Nicole watched Destiny play with blocks. I needed to show them that their mother wasn't a complete failure. You were never a failure. You were someone struggling with a disease. That's kind of you to say. The relationship between Nicole and Ethan had evolved into something like respect and friendship. He continued to help her financially when she needed it, never making her feel small for accepting assistance. She, in turn, never tried to compete with him for the girl's affection. You saved them, she'd said more than once. I can never repay that. In the spring, Ethan made a big announcement. They were having dinner, the three of them, when he set down his fork and looked serious. I've been thinking about something, he said. I've built a successful company, made more money than I need, and worked long hours for years. But I've realized something important. What? Amara asked. That none of it matters as much as you two. So, I've decided to step back from the day-to-day running of the company. I'm promoting my vice president to CEO and moving to a chairman role. I'll still be involved, but much less intensely. Why? Because I want to be here for you. All the time, not just evenings and weekends. I want to volunteer at your school, coach Destiny's future soccer team, be the dad who shows up for everything. Amara's eyes filled with tears. You already show up for everything. But I want to show up more. Better. He reached across the table to take her hand. You girls saved my life. Now I want to actually live that life with you. What about your company? It'll be fine. I've built a strong team. And honestly, I care more about seeing you in your school play than I care about the next quarterly earnings report. It was the truth. The company had always been Ethan's focus, his identity. But fatherhood had shifted his priorities completely. The changes were gradual but noticeable. Ethan was home more. He volunteered as a reading buddy at Amara's school. He took Destiny to toddler music classes. He was present in ways most parents with his resources never managed. Mr. Bradford, you're at every single school event, Amara's teacher noted during parent-teacher conferences. That's wonderful. Where else would I be? Ethan replied simply. In the summer they took their first vacation as a family, a week at the beach. Amara had never seen the ocean before. She stood at the edge of the waves, amazed by the vastness. It goes on forever, she breathed. Just like our family, Ethan said, standing beside her with Destiny on his shoulders. Forever and always. They built sandcastles, collected shells, ate ice cream that melted faster than they could lick it. They laughed and played and were simply together, three people who'd found each other through the worst of circumstances and built something beautiful. One evening at the beach, after Destiny was asleep, Amara and Ethan sat on the balcony of their rental house, watching the sunset. "Can I ask you something?" Amara said. "Always. Do you ever wish you'd just driven past that night? That you'd kept your nice, uncomplicated life?" Ethan looked at her, surprised. "Never. Not once. Not for a single second." "Really? Because we've made your life harder. More complicated. You've made my life fuller. Richer. More meaningful." He put his arm around her shoulders. "Before you, I was successful but lonely. I had everything and nothing at the same time. Now I have purpose. I have love. I have a reason to wake up every morning." "We really saved you?" "You absolutely did." Amara leaned against him, watching the sun sink into the ocean. "I'm glad you stopped." "Me too, sweetie. Me too." Back home after vacation, Ethan made another announcement. "I've been thinking about starting a foundation," he said, "to help families in crisis. To make sure other kids don't end up on street corners in the winter." "That's a good idea," Amara said. "I was hoping you'd help me. Be part of deciding what the foundation does, who it helps, how we make a difference." "Me? But I'm just a kid. You're someone who's lived through what we're trying to prevent. Your perspective is invaluable." So they started planning. The Bradford Family Foundation would provide emergency housing assistance, fund addiction treatment programs, support foster care initiatives, and create safety nets for vulnerable families. "Every child deserves what you gave us," Amara said during one planning meeting. "A chance. Hope. Someone who cares." The foundation launched in the fall with a big event that made the local news. Reporters asked Ethan why he'd started it. "Because two little girls on a freezing street taught me what really matters," he said simply. "And I want to honor that lesson by helping others." Nicole attended the launch event, proud and tearful. "You're doing something important," she told Ethan. "We all are. Your honesty about your struggles, your willingness to let them go so they could thrive, that's part of this too. I just did what any mother should do. Put them first. Not every parent manages that. You did." By the time winter came around again, 2 years after that fateful night, the Bradford household had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Destiny went to preschool 3 mornings a week. Amara excelled in 6th grade. Ethan split his time between limited company work and unlimited family time. And Nicole, now 2 years sober, had become a peer counselor at the treatment center that had helped her. She used her story to help other mothers struggling with addiction. "Your daughters saved your life," one of the women she counseled said. "No," Nicole replied. "A man who could have driven past but didn't saved our lives. All 3 of us." On the anniversary of the adoption, they had a quiet celebration at home. No big party, just the 4 of them, Ethan, Amara, Destiny, and Nicole, invited to share in the day. They looked through photos from the past 2 years. Amara's first day of school. Destiny's second birthday. The beach vacation. Halloween costumes. Christmas mornings. Ordinary moments that were extraordinary because they were filled with love. "I'm grateful," Nicole said, looking at these images of the life her daughters had. "So grateful it hurts." "We're grateful too," Amara said. "For you being healthy. For you being part of our lives still. For you being brave enough to let us go," Ethan added. That night, after Nicole had gone home and Destiny was asleep, Amara wrote in her journal, 2 years ago, I was freezing on a street corner, begging a stranger to save my sister. I thought that was the worst night of my life. But it was actually the beginning of the best life I could have imagined. Dad, I can write that now without feeling guilty. Showed me that family is about choice and love, not just blood. Mama showed me that love sometimes means letting go. Destiny showed me that innocence can be protected even after trauma. And I learned that hope isn't naive. Sometimes hope is the bravest thing you can hold on to." She closed the journal and looked around her room. Comfortable bed, overflowing bookshelf, desk for homework, walls decorated with photos and art. A room that was completely hers in a house that was completely home. Downstairs, she could hear Ethan washing dishes, humming along to music. Normal sounds, safe sounds, home sounds. Amara smiled and turned off her light, secure in the knowledge that tomorrow would come, and it would be good and she would be loved. Because someone had stopped. Someone had seen. Someone had cared enough to change 3 lives forever. 3 years had passed since that frozen February night. Amara was 13 now, in 8th grade, confident and happy in ways she'd never imagined possible. Destiny was 4, attending pre-K and charming everyone she met. Ethan had fully embraced fatherhood. His hair had more gray now, partly from age and partly from the stress of raising two girls, but he wore it with pride. "You two are worth every gray hair," he'd joke. The Bradford Family Foundation had grown beyond their initial expectations. They'd helped over 200 families in the past 2 years, providing emergency assistance, treatment funding, and long-term support. Amara was heavily involved, speaking at fundraisers, sharing her story, advocating for children in crisis. "You're a natural," the foundation's director told her after one speech. "Have you thought about becoming a social worker someday?" "Maybe," Amara said. "I want to help people the way people helped me." Nicole had thrived in her recovery. She'd gotten a small promotion at work, moved to a nicer apartment, even started dating someone who treated her well. She visited regularly, and the awkwardness between her and the girls had faded into comfortable affection. "You're more like an aunt now," Amara had told her during one visit. "Is that weird?" "It's perfect," Nicole replied. "I get to love you without the pressure of being your mom. And you get to have a dad who's actually there for you. I can love you both, you know. It's not a competition." "I know. But I also know Ethan is your real parent now, and that's okay. More than okay." One Saturday in early spring, Ethan gathered the family for an announcement. "We're going on a special outing today," he said. "Where?" Destiny asked, bouncing excitedly. "You'll see." They drove downtown to the street corner where Ethan had first seen Amara and Destiny. The area had changed. The condemned building was gone, replaced by new affordable housing. The sidewalk had been repaved. But Amara still recognized it. "Why are we here?" she asked quietly. "Because 3 years ago this is where our family began," Ethan said. "And I wanted you to see that something good can come from even the darkest places." He led them to a small plaza that had been built where the old building used to stand. In the center was a bench with a plaque. Amara read the inscription. "In memory of all the children who needed help and didn't receive it. May we always have the courage to stop, to see, and to care. The Bradford Family Foundation." Tears streamed down her face. "You made a memorial?" "I made a reminder. For this community, for ourselves, that we can always choose kindness. We can always choose to help." Destiny didn't fully understand, but she climbed onto the bench and patted the plaque. "Pretty?" "Very pretty," Ethan agreed, scooping her up. They sat on that bench for a while, 3 people who'd become a family in the most unexpected way. Around them the city moved on, people shopping, talking, living their lives. Most would never know the significance of this spot. But they knew. And that was enough. Later that day back home, Amara found Ethan in his study. "Can I talk to you about something?" she asked. "Always. School's having a career day and they want me to talk about what I want to be when I grow up. I'm thinking about telling them I want to start a nonprofit like ours. But bigger. Help kids all over the country." Ethan smiled. "That sounds like a wonderful goal. Do you think I can really do it?" "Amara, you survived impossible circumstances, rebuilt your life, and now you're thriving. You can do anything you set your mind to. Will you help me? When I'm older and ready? I'll be there every step of the way. But you won't need much help. You're already braver and stronger than most adults I know." That night, the whole family gathered for dinner. Patricia joined them as she often did now. She'd become like a grandmother to the girls. Nicole came too, bringing homemade cookies. "This is nice," Nicole said, looking around the table. "All of us together." "It's perfect," Amara agreed. After dinner, as they were cleaning up, Destiny tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy, tell the story." "Which story?" "How you founded us." "Found, not founded," but no one corrected her. Ethan scooped her up. "Well, it was a very cold night and I was driving home from work." Amara had heard this story hundreds of times. Each telling was slightly different, but the core remained the same. A man who almost didn't stop, 2 girls who needed help, and a split-second decision that changed everything. "And then what happened?" Destiny asked, even though she knew. "Then I saw your sister, brave and scared, holding you and asking me to save you first. And I knew I couldn't just drive away. So I stopped and we went to the hospital, and then you came home with me. Forever. Forever and ever." Destiny clapped her hands, delighted by the happy ending she was living. Later, after Destiny was in bed and Nicole had gone home, Amara stood in the doorway of Ethan's study. "Dad." She said it easily now. "Thank you." "For what?" "For stopping. For staying. For choosing us every single day." Ethan set down the book he'd been reading. "You know what's funny? People thank me all the time for helping you. They act like I'm some kind of hero. But the truth is, you girls saved me." "How?" "I was lonely. Going through the motions. I'd lost my wife, buried myself in work, and stopped really living. Then I saw you on that corner and something woke up inside me. A purpose. A reason to be better, do better, care more. So we saved each other? Exactly. Amara walked over and hugged him. I'm glad you were driving down that street that night. Me too. Best detour I ever took. The next day at school, Amara gave her career day presentation. She stood in front of her classmates and teachers, confident and clear. When I grow up, I want to help families in crisis, she said. I want to make sure that kids who are scared and alone find someone who will stop and help them. Because 3 years ago I was that kid. And someone stopped for me. And it changed everything. She told a careful version of her story. Not all the details, not the most painful parts, but enough to make her point. That kindness matters, that one person can make a difference, that choosing to help is always the right choice. When she finished, the room was quiet. Then one of her classmates raised her hand. Was that person who stopped your dad? Mr. Bradford? Amara smiled. It was. He wasn't my dad then, but he is now. And I wouldn't be here without him. After the presentation, her teacher pulled her aside. That was incredibly brave, Amara. Thank you for sharing your story. If it helps even one person decide to stop and help someone in need, it's worth it. That spring, the Bradford Family Foundation held its annual fundraising gala. Amara had helped plan it, picking the theme, the menu, the program. At 13, she was the youngest person on the planning committee. The event was held in a beautiful ballroom downtown. Hundreds of people attended. Donors, volunteers, families the foundation had helped. Everyone dressed up, mingled, listened to speeches about the difference they were making. Ethan gave the keynote address. He talked about the foundation's growth, the families they'd helped, the children who were now safe and thriving. Then he said something unexpected. 3 years ago I was a different person. Successful by conventional measures, but empty in the ways that truly matter. Then I made a choice. A simple choice. I stopped to help 2 little girls who needed me. And in helping them they helped me more than they'll ever know. He gestured to where Amara and Destiny sat at a front table, both wearing matching green dresses. My daughters taught me what really matters. Not profits or productivity, but presence and love. Not building empires, but building a family. Not the legacy you leave behind in business, but the legacy you create in the hearts of the people you care for. The audience applauded. Several people were crying. So tonight, as we celebrate the work of this foundation, I want to remind everyone why it exists. It exists because on a freezing night, 2 vulnerable children needed help. And I happened to be there. But what if I hadn't been? What if no one had stopped? What if we, as a society, keep driving past the people who need us most? The room was absolutely silent. We all have the power to stop, to see, to care, to change a life. And I'm asking you tonight, make that choice. When you see someone in need, don't assume someone else will help. Be the someone. Be the person who stops. The applause when he finished was thunderous. After the speeches, during the dinner portion of the evening, various people approached their table to congratulate Ethan and meet his daughters. One woman, elegantly dressed and clearly wealthy, bent down to speak to Amara. Your father is an inspiration, she said. And so are you. I heard you speak at the last school assembly about foster care. You're very brave. Thank you, Amara said politely. I've been thinking about becoming a foster parent myself. But I'm scared I won't be good enough. Do you have any advice? Amara thought carefully. Just be there. Show up every day. Be patient. Be kind. That's really all kids need. Someone who doesn't give up on them. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. As she walked away, Ethan squeezed Amara's shoulder. You're changing lives too, you know. Just by being you. I learned from the best. The evening ended with a surprise. The foundation's board of directors presented Amara with a special award, the Hope Ambassador Award, given to someone who embodies the foundation's mission. Amara Bradford, the board chair said, you have shown incredible courage, resilience, and compassion. You use your story to help others. You advocate for vulnerable children. You remind us all why this work matters. We're honored to give you this first ever Hope Ambassador Award. Amara walked to the stage, overwhelmed. She accepted the crystal award, heavy in her hands, and looked out at the crowd. I don't feel like a hero, she said into the microphone. I'm just someone who got lucky. Lucky that my dad stopped his car that night. Lucky that he chose to help instead of looking away. Lucky that he kept choosing us, every day since then. She looked at Ethan in the audience, holding Destiny on his lap. But I've learned something important. Luck isn't random. Luck is what happens when people decide to be kind. When they decide that someone else's crisis matters more than their convenience. When they decide that love and family can be chosen, not just inherited. Her voice grew stronger. So if I'm a hope ambassador, then I'm here to tell you, choose kindness. Choose to stop. Choose to see people who are hurting and help them. Because somewhere out there, right now, there's a kid who needs someone to stop. Someone to care. Someone to save them. She held up the award. And that someone could be you. The applause lasted for a full minute. People stood, cheering, crying, moved by her words. Later, at home, after the gala, after Destiny was asleep, after the fancy clothes were hung up and the makeup washed off, Amara sat with Ethan in the living room. I meant what I said tonight, she told him. About luck being a choice. I know you did. And you're right. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd driven past that night? Sometimes. And it terrifies me to imagine. Me too. Amara was quiet for a moment. But you didn't drive past. You stopped. And because you stopped, Destiny and I are alive and safe and happy. Because you stopped, Nicole got help. And is healthy now. Because you stopped, hundreds of other families have been helped by the foundation. One choice, all those ripples. That's how the world changes. One choice at a time. One person deciding to care. They sat in comfortable silence, father and daughter, watching the fireplace flicker. Dad. Amara said finally. Yeah. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. Outside, snow had started to fall. Soft and gentle, nothing like the brutal storm from 3 years ago. But it was still snow, still winter, still the season that had almost killed them and had ultimately saved them. Amara walked to the window, watching the flakes drift past the streetlights. Somewhere in the city, there might be another child on another corner, scared and alone. She hoped someone would stop for them too. Someone who would make the right choice. Because that's how families were built. That's how lives were changed. That's how hope survived even in the coldest winter. One person, one moment, one choice to stop and care. Behind her, Ethan turned off the lights. Ready for bed? Yeah. Amara took one last look at the snow, then turned away from the window. I'm ready. They walked upstairs together, this family that had been formed in crisis and had become unbreakable through love. Past Destiny's room, where she slept peacefully, safe and warm. Past Patricia's empty guest room, where she stayed when needed. Past the photos lining the hallway, birthdays, holidays, ordinary moments made extraordinary by the love surrounding them. Amara paused at her bedroom door. Dad? Thanks for not giving up on us. For keeping us. For making us a family. You don't have to thank me for that. Being your father is the greatest privilege of my life. Still. Thank you. You're welcome. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's a school day. Good night, Dad. Good night, Amara. She closed the door and looked around her room. Everything she needed was here. More importantly, everyone she needed was here, just down the hall, always within reach, always present, always there. Amara climbed into bed and pulled out her journal, now volume 4. She wrote. 3 years ago, I asked a stranger to save my sister first. Today I realize he saved us both. Not just from that night, but from all the nights before and all the days after. He gave us more than shelter and food. He gave us family, stability, love and hope. He showed us that good people exist. That kindness is real. That family is what you build, not just what you're born into. Tomorrow I'll wake up in this safe, warm house. I'll eat breakfast with my dad and my sister. I'll go to school and come home to people who care about me. It's ordinary. It's simple. It's everything. And it all started because one man decided to stop his car on a frozen street and help 2 girls he didn't even know. May we all be that person when we're needed. May we all choose to stop. She closed the journal, turned off her light and went to sleep. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in white silence. But inside the Bradford house, everything was warm and safe and exactly as it should be. A family built not by blood but by choice, by love, by one man's decision to stop when everyone else drove past. And in the morning they would wake up together, this family forged in crisis and strengthened by love, ready to face another day of building a life worth living. Because someone had stopped. Someone had cared. Someone had seen 2 children in need and had decided that their lives mattered more than his convenience. And that one decision had saved them all.